Let's move on, though, now to the minute. All right.
Okay.
Let's move on, though, now to the Miami Dolphins and their 7-round mock draft series. But before we do that, Ryan and I, we have a goal of getting to 1,000 subscribers by NFL Draft Night, which is April 27th, which is just over a month away. So if you have not already, hit that subscribe button, smash that bell so you can get notified when we create new content, and share this video with your friends and family. And Ryan, let's get into it. Miami, they will not be busy on draft weekend. However, they have already been extremely busy in free agency and in the offseason, primarily with getting Jalen Ramsey over from the Los Angeles Rams for just a third-round pick, their 77th pick overall, solidifying this defensive powerhouse. Honestly, they have been one of the better defenses in the league, and I think solidifying the secondary in an uber-aggressive defense system that they have here. So let's start out with their first pick, which is going to be in the second round, pick number 52. And we can already tell you now that they would probably go a different route just because we had them going with Cam Smith when we did this mock draft, which we did on Sunday, March 12th, and we are recording this now Sunday, March 19th, as we are kind of doing this mock draft series. I like the player. I like the pick when we did it. However, with how few picks they have here and getting Jalen Ramsey, I don't feel like they're going to go secondary here. However, you had a great point, and this player was actually picked next in our mock draft by Seattle, and we would really like this guy here. Who do you think would be a good pick here?
So we had Darnell Washington going the next pick to Seattle. However, Miami just lost Hunter Long in that Jalen Ramsey trade, and then also Mike Gesicki in free agency. And I think Darnell Washington would be a great fit in this offense because his athleticism and blocking ability would just be absolutely monstrous for what Mike McDaniels likes to do. And honestly, getting him here at 52 would be a steal. There are a lot of people now after his combine have him going top 10 in the second, or sorry, very early in the second round, late first round. And I really like what he could bring to the table for this offense. As a Patriots fan, I would hate it. And that's how you know it's a good pick. So, So, I think that would be a really good pick. If they want to go in another direction, Keanu Benton, a defensive lineman, was picked a few picks later, as well as Carl Brooks, another defensive lineman. And then another one that I also really like, Cody Mock, the offensive lineman from North Dakota State, who is he is the quintessential lineman, like long hair, like no teeth, just super gritty, like grew up in the Minnesota wilderness. I loved his Senior Bowl. I think he would bring a level of physicality to this offensive line that they have not had into his entire time there. And so I love Cody Mock. He went 10 picks later, and I think that this would be a good range for him to go in. So I think there's multiple different ways they could go. Again, like you, I like Cam Smith as a player, but I just, after the Jalen Ramsey trade, it doesn't really make sense.
Yeah, so you're going to see it on our thumbnail just because that's who we picked, so we're consistent amongst all drafts. But we fully agree probably is what you're going to put in the comments that they're not going to put Cam Smith. So we want to make that very clear here. So let's move on, though, now to the next pick, which is pick 85. Another thing also, too, the system that we used counted forfeited picks. So if some of the picks are off by one or two, that's why. But as Ryan mentioned, going offensive line here was one of the key things that they could have done at pick 52. Well, we did that here at the next pick 85, going with Blake Freeland, offensive tackle from BYU. I think he's had mixed emotions, I feel like, during this time. Senior Bowl wasn't great, but then people really liked him after the combine. I feel like this is kind of a good fit for him just on where he's going to get picked.
Yeah. So his big thing at the Senior Bowl was he got off balance way too easily. He kept lunging forward to try to get ahead of blocks, and then he would end up falling off balance and hinging at the hips. And it wasn't a good look. He didn't do that nearly as much on tape. And then he went and possibly had the most athletic offensive lineman combine ever. So I think you look at it, and from a raw developmental talent perspective, he's a really good offensive line prospect that I think people are starting to take notice of. And I think he's going to go in the third round to maybe early fourth round. And I like what he brings to the table for this Dolphins offensive line that really needs help. I think that this is a good pick. He's also really athletic and good in space. And I think Mike McDaniels would love that from a scheme perspective. So
Yeah, they have addressed the offensive line technically in free agency. They have re-signed, or they have signed Dan Feeney, who is an interior offensive lineman out of Indiana, and I think it's an improvement. But there's still a couple of guys that they haven't addressed. Eric Fisher has not been signed yet, according to Over the Cap, so that might be something that they might want to address. And Blake Freeland can at least help provide depth and that developmental piece to it. So. Moving on now to their next pick, they don't pick for another 100 picks, and so you're trying to find as good a value as possible here. And running back has been an issue for them, and they've started to improve a little bit last year, but they have re-signed Myles Gaskin, Raheem Mostert, and Jeff Wilson as well. And then with all those signings now, looking back on it, we do have them taking running back here. If you'd want to pronounce the name.
Is Israel Abanikanda. I don't know if that's right. It's a long last name, but
it's a lot better than I would have done. Once you subscribe and you get used to the channel, it is a common theme that I can't pronounce names here. So it is no disrespect, but Ryan does all the name pronouncing. And so, but I like the player a lot. I think he has a lot of potential here, especially also too. I've followed him as well because I like to do dynasty football, and he is a player that a lot of people are looking at maybe getting late in third round mock drafts in dynasty football. So there's a lot of potential, a lot of upside, especially because he had a great career out of Pittsburgh. However, though, just with Miami here, I wonder if they go running back at the situation after they've already have 3 running backs signed who kind of already know the system in Miami, and maybe address a different need. Maybe go offensive line again to help provide some more depth at that position here.
Yeah, no, I mean, at this point in the draft, it's best player available, and he was at the top of that list. And I just think if they want to go in another direction, immediately after that, a couple offensive tackles were taken. In the next 10 picks, 2 more interior offensive linemen were taken. And so I think if they really want to build depth across that offensive line, this is a good spot to do it. And then speaking of depth across the interior offensive line, our next pick at 240 in the 7th round was TJ Bass from Oregon. And again, just a really solid interior offensive lineman from Oregon. Oregon had one of the best offensive lines last year in college football. And to get a guard from there, I think is really solid. So all in all, with only 4 picks in this draft, it's really kind of hard to be like, this is a great draft. But I think even though the Cam Smith pick isn't really valid anymore now that they have Jalen Ramsey, I still like that they're just going to get good value at the picks that they're at. So.
Yeah, it's with 4 picks. It really is. It's interesting to kind of see what they're going to do. It just every player. It's like, which player do we like? And all right, let's just take them. Let's go from there.
And so, all in all, I think that's going to wrap up the Miami Dolphins mock draft. Let us know down in the comments what you think they will do at 52. Do you like Darnell Washington in this system? And I think he would be a great fit. So let us know down below if you agree with us.